Let's go to Joseph waiting patiently in Appleton, Wisconsin. Hi, Joseph.
Hi there, Patrick. Okay, so my question, what do I do when someone will not respond to even the most advanced apologetics? Because I will be Socratic, I will be didactic. I am
Uh-huh.
not condescending. No, I will laud them when they make good points.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to the point where, they bring up the problem of evil. So I explain Irenaean theodicy,
Mm-hmm.
Kierkegaardian theology, Molinistic contingencies, all that are like, the real presence, all these things. I mean, how do you yourself, when someone's cognitive dissonance and their inability to listen to empirical or irrefutable answers to every question just doesn't let them, they just still don't care. What do?
Mm-hmm.
You just pray at
I
that
wish
point?
him well. Yeah, I wish him well. Hey, have a nice life. I mean, if it's
Yeah.
somebody that, I'm not close to, if it's not like a relative or a friend or something, and they
Hmm.
just say, no, sorry, it's like, okay, great. Nice talking to you. Have a nice life. If it's somebody
Okay.
that I care about and maybe I've got some obligation to try to do more, I will do that. And you know how relationships are. Sometimes it can take many years to get a point across to somebody. So if you have standing in that person's life and you have an obligation, could be a brother, sister, or child or something, then keep trying as best you can. But even Jesus himself gave us a blueprint for what to do when he told the 70s, the disciples, to go out into the towns and preach the good news. He said, if they don't receive you, then move on to the next town. And there comes a time when you just have to do that. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and you're wasting the other person's time.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Joseph, you obviously are a really intelligent guy and you've studied a lot of things. I
I
mean,
try.
very few people know the Greek word poieo, having to do with, to do the sacrifice, as Christ said at the Last Supper. So you're clearly very knowledgeable. But beware, if I can be so bold to tell you this, beware
Hmm.
of the temptation to need to be right and for the other person to acknowledge that you're right. That is a
Yes.
temptation, especially in the field of apologetics, where by golly, I'm going to stomp on this guy until he says uncle. And we have to resist that. So you may be
Hmm.
right, but you don't have to be right. In other words, he doesn't have to acknowledge it. That's between him and God. So the
Yeah.
sower of the seed analogy or the parable comes to mind. You notice that the sower of the seed, he doesn't know exactly what kind of ground it will fall on. Some of it's suitable for the seed to take root and grow, and some of it's not suitable. But the sower of the seed doesn't stand there hovering over it, waiting to see what's going to happen. He just moves on and he just keeps sowing the seed, and it's the Holy Spirit who is the master of the harvest. So I find it's very liberating for me to not have to worry whether or not the person's going to agree with me. If I can plant some seeds that might grow, awesome. And then maybe you're going to come along a year later and you'll close the sale. I don't need to close the sale. And you don't either. Just leave it in God's hands. It's going to be okay.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, I try to live that myself. So it's not just, just, hey, do it this way. I've found myself in that situation where I had to learn that lesson. And, it's not easy to learn it the hard way, but hopefully this conversation will save you a little bit of wear and tear.
Definitely. And actually, when I first started in apologetics, I was very prideful, and
Hmm.
I would just pour all the information I possibly could on them. And yeah, got to a point where I realized no one is receptive to that. So
Right. Yeah. And it's not comfortable to realize that with all of your knowledge and reading and expertise, it doesn't amount to a hill of beans for some people. And there's nothing you can do about it. And it may just
it's
be
true.
they're not going to hear it from you. And somebody else could come along and say the exact same thing and they'll listen. It's just the
Yeah.
nature of things. There are people who just won't hear anything from me. And they pop up from time to time on social media and tell me so. And it's not that necessarily they disagree with the message. It's just me. For whatever reason, I rub them the wrong way, and that's okay. I can live with that. I'm not worried about it.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Thank you kindly. I appreciate it.
You got it, Joseph. Keep on keeping on.
For more of The Patrick Madrid Show, visit relevantradio.com/Patrick.